That's going back in the day. That's showing my age right there. You guys know nothing about that, huh?
No.
Nope, not at all.
Nothing.
You know what? That's funny because the intro song for Brian from Day 6 Gear is something along those lines. You know, we're about to get woke. You boys ready for that?
Hell yeah.
I mean, what do you take from that episode, Trev?
No, it was just a surreal, down-to-earth, grounded episode. And there's just a lot of information from hunting to life to just your everyday, what you should and shouldn't be doing as a human being. And it definitely is surreal and something to add in the memory bank, for sure.
What about you, Ron?
Yeah, so in all honesty, I always know the prequel's coming. You know, after the episode, I do try to prepare for it. But, you know, with this episode, I got nothing, man. I mean, you got to listen to this episode. Like Travis said, it was surreal. Brian is just a down-to-earth, working class, just blue-collar guy living the dream, man. And he lays it
Slaying
shit. He lays it all in line from life tips to how to make it work with your wife so she's always happy and you can go out and do what you want.
Yeah, life hacks.
So just life hacks, hunting hacks, everything. Great stories. There's no... You got to listen to it. You got to tune in and find out what he's got to say here.
A lot of information. A fuck ton of information. From arrow setup to your bow setup to where you want to hunt, what type of hunts, great hunting stories. I mean, like what Ryan said with the life hacks, keeping mama happy at home, at the nest. I mean, it's just all over the place, but all relative to what we strive every day, and that's hunting. So one point I want to bring up, showing our age, for a free sticker, just DM either Ryan, Trev, or myself what that theme song was from, and you get a free sticker. And the first person to get that and reach out to us after this episode releases, we might do a little something special. The first 2 people to get it will definitely get stickers, but the first one to hit us up, we'll do a little something special. We're not sure what it's going to be, so enjoy the show.
Lydia Walter, why East Coast Bowhunting Podcast?
Because neither one of us wear pink camo.
East Coast Bowhunting Podcast. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Look, man, I'm from Wisconsin, and I listen to East Coast Bowhunters because you don't get anything more real than these guys.
Because East Coast Bowhunting sets the standards for keeping its listeners informed on everything that matters in the hunting industry.
It's nice having somebody, local and represent the East Coast boys.
The East Coast is going to saddle up.
Number one source for slaying whitetails on the East Coast.
Well, you might see Jesus if you actually shoot something, it'll get you into heaven.
Why East Coast? Why not? I'm East Coast, baby. That's how we roll. Chew on that.
Come on the show a stranger, and you feel like one of the boys when you leave.
Because I get my hunting camp anytime I want.
There's some absolute monsters roaming the East Coast, and I think it needs a little attention, so why not bring it to the East Coast Bowhunters Podcast?
Man, because East Coast is a tight-knit crew, and y'all like me. Raw, real, no bullshit.
Because you guys are hometown boys. I love you guys.
This is Kurt Geyer with Working Class Bowhunter, and East Coast Bowhunting Podcast is the only hunting podcast I'll tune into.
This is the East Coast Bowhunting Podcast here at Slayer Studio in Coventry, Connecticut, hiding in the mountains of God's heaven. I'm your boy D-Rock here with
East Coast Trev
and
Ryan the Porn Star.
And I was running a little late today, so I zipped on up here on my rice rocket to meet the boys due to the everyday grind.
Rice rocket?
Rice rocket.
It's kind of like those bags you were kneeling on, Trev.
And I zipped on up here. So anyone that works hard and still goes home to continue to make the magic happen and slave through the night is our driving factor. This is why we do it. The reason we stay proud and true. Brian Broderick, the everyman wholesome American out of Alabama from Day 6 Gear. And today is made possible by Shabeen Brewing. Shabeen.
The Hunter's Beer.
You might as well get me another one already.
100 Demons.
East Coast hardcore music going worldwide.
Trev's Euros.
For all your Euro mount needs. That guy sucks.
You can still let him play with your bone, though.
He loves the bone.
For some reason, he likes beetles, too. It's kind of weird mixture.
Creepy,
Flesh-eating
shit.
beetles, right? Flesh-eating.
Ouch. Encore Targets.
Get quality for less money and fill that backyard full of some cool-ass shit.
Meyer Trail Cameras.
Who's on your hit list? The best trail cam on the market. Clearest and cheapest.
Outright Hunting Products.
The Morph Pro. The last bow hanger, accessory hanger.
Did you just say boner?
No, bow hanger.
Where's your mind, Mr. Bone?
Still talking about them flesh-eating beetles. The last bow hanger, accessory hanger, last accessory you're going to need in the tree. The Morph Pro. Outright Hunting Products.
Ethics Archery.
Fuck you.
Whoa.
Jumping the gun, Trav. I should have trademarked that shit. Should have hit up Haas.
Use promo code East Coast 10, and if you don't use Ethics Archery,
fuck you.
Death Wish Coffee. Use promo code East Coast 10.
The best coffee on earth. It's like crack in a cup.
Tree Thrasher. Use East Coast 15.
Imitate the wild.
This show's driven by Scranton Motors and powered by Scranton Power Sports.
Get yourself on-road, off-road, anywhere you want to be with Scranton Motorsports and Power Sports.
Hell yeah. The Hunter Site.
The only mobile tool, topographical
map,
journal
I will ever use.
Hunting journal. Journal your quest.
You want to change your
Pants?
outdoor life?
Oh.
Get yourself the Hunter Site.
Amen. Gator Outdoors.
The one-stop shop for the working class outdoorsman. Get anything you need.
Outfitting the working class. Wild Edge Inc.
Saddle up. If my fat ass can get in it, so can yours.
Do they make it in your size?
Yeah, size 2, bro.
No, that's what I wear.
Size 2?
You're like size 2.5.
No, 2 goes 36 to 46.
Damn, they make a 0?
I think so. I think so. This show is presented by Working Class Bowhunter. The reason people podcast. The results of your cheeks hurting from laughing so much. The yes to your no. East Coast Bowhunting Podcast is here as always for new and old hunters by sharing our experiences in the woods through playing and slaying. What's up?
What's up, boys?
How are we doing tonight, fellas?
Oh, shit's crazy.
I'm a little tired, so let's kick it off right.
Shabeen.
I can smell that guava kush.
How'd you know it was guava kush? I have it in a koozie.
Because you're organic as fuck.
Which one you got over there, Trev?
I got that John Beer, dude.
No, you don't.
You're right. I don't. I got that smoothie shop.
See? Caught you.
I tried using it undercover in the koozie, man. Fuck off.
Which koozie you got?
I got that WCB leather, son.
Ooh. Hell yeah. Black or brown?
I got the brown one. I'm actually kind of upset because I forgot it when I went to the shoot, and I really wanted it. And
why didn't you get another one?
I didn't even think of that.
It was your birthday. You should have fucking snatched one up.
I know. It would be nice to have the black one. Actually, dude, you know something?
Why's it got to be black?
Well, because that's the other one. But
colors are colors, man. You can't change them.
So I didn't realize it, but for the, I believe the Michigan show, they had bought, Eric had bought like 1,000 of the ones with Stevie Moeller on the bottom of them.
Is that
Eric? Michigan?
But they weren't,
or Wisconsin?
Maybe Wisconsin. But they have Stevie Moeller's imprinted on the bottom of them in a cowboy hat.
Yeah. And that's Eric Hammond, right?
Hammond. So, anyways, I just thought that was a fun fact that Stevie Mo is on the regular neoprene koozies.
That was the remix, fellas. that was D-Rock hitting the record, scratching it up. Neoprene.
That's them editing skills.
That's it, man.
Hey, you know.
Get at it, son. Get on my level.
I knew you was still Puerto Rican.
That's it, bro.
Shit. So, Ryan, what'd you do last night, man?
What I do last night, man, I snuck out into the woods. And I put myself up a trail cam in a spot that I hunted a couple times. I knew there was some deer there, stalked some deer in there, and I've been dying to get a camera out there. Put it about 10 feet in a tree in a wild edge step, and I can't wait for a couple more days. I'm going to give it a week to sit, a couple more days. I'm going to go ahead and check that and see what I got out there.
Dope. You get any food plots out there yet or no?
No food plots yet this year. A lot of stuff going on. Been crazy busy, but we'll see what happens as the year goes on. We haven't been getting the greatest weather for putting a food plot in right now. It's been a lot of heat. You're mostly going to get weeds. Of course, some landscaper. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to that. If you don't get enough rain, all you can do.
You know how to lay down a lot of shit, don't you?
Lay down whatever you want, bro.
Lay down the hammer.
The cable, the hammer, the pipe, the seed, whatever you want.
The seed, whatever you need. I got it.
Yeah, so not right now. It's not good weather for it. I got no means to water it. So we'll see what happens. We get the right weather. Maybe I'll get some food plots out there.
Word. You know what I've done in the past, actually, is you know them hand pumps from like Secticide or whatever?
Excuse me?
Hand pumps?
Hand pumps, okay.
See the motion I'm doing?
Yeah, I see what you're doing. That's what I said, excuse me?
Oh, guys. Back on track. On track.
You know, like in the mechanic world, they even have like them fire extinguisher that you pressurize with water and stuff. Like,
absolutely.
I usually strap that to my Scranton Motors Polaris quad and head on in there. And, you know, for dry season, for the food plots, you could just squirt her down.
Yeah, you squirt her with a backpack sprayer, whatever you got.
Yeah, squirt her. Make her squirt.
Whatever you guys got to do.
I'm just saying. Well, you got any food plots, Trev, or not really?
No, I'm going the incognito way, I think, this year. No food plots, no scents. Just kind of being one with the herd.
No, he's just hunting hard, man.
I got a different game plan. Just kind of being that incognito. I did deploy some trail cameras recently. Again on some private, and I kind of did something a little bit different than I normally do. Like normally I'd be doing minerals and feed spots, but I decided not to and just kind of see where the natural tracks are and not to change things on the land and kind of getting into those bedding grounds and seeing where those bucks lay and just kind of playing it out more like a different way of doing it now than I have done in the past. Instead of changing a spot, like if I'm on 20 acres and putting out a mineral or a food that I can't hunt during the season, then it kind of would like change it for me. So I'm just kind of getting on those actual tracks and those paths and those areas where those bucks or does normally hang up and kind of go that route instead of, because I would go in there and I'd try 10,000 different fucking things, and I don't know if I was scaring the deer or I was making it better, but I think more or less, I mean, just listening to a lot of our guests and stuff, I learned a ton with just being one with the herd, as Clint Casper would say, and just go scentless, foodless, and just do it that way. So I don't know. It was a decision that I made on the drive to public land in my private land, and I don't know. That's just kind of my go-to, man.
Yeah, well, the cameras are going to tell you all, man.
Yeah, I mean I'm putting a lot of eggs in one basket, but fuck it, I'm willing to try that.
But fuck it.
Okay.
Ethics archery, fuck you. Is that where you're going with?
Yeah. I had a good question, actually, is I don't know if you guys may know this. I'd have to look it up because I'm usually the biblioteca on the rules and regulations.
Was that English?
Library.
No, it was not.
A library. But
it was not English.
Okay. What I'm referring to specifically as far as food plots, like they allow you to plant, but I wonder if you're able to plant already grown plants. You know what I mean? And let them grow.
I've been thinking about this for years, bro. So, of course, landscaping history is still landscape these days. Deer love fucking arborvitaes, man. I've always wanted to go to Ocean State or whatever, get them arborvitaes, little 5-footers for like $10 and go put them in the woods. I don't know if you can do it. I've never done it.
I really think that you could do that before season open, but I'm not sure during season.
So,
you know what I mean?
So this is the deal. So one of the public areas where we actually hunt, they had done some work there. I won't get too deep into it, but
please don't.
They had actually planted arborvitaes in the middle of these fucking clover fields.
And they're gone.
And they're actually hammered on.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, like, what are they to know what you're doing?
If we replace those.
I mean, it's just saying agriculturally, you cannot change agriculturally what the ground actually is. So you can't go in with agricultural, like, tools as far as, like, harrows and shit like that.
Yeah, but you can bring yourself a hoe or two.
Or a shovel.
Well, on private land, you put in the shrubs of arbs in. I do it all day long. Put arborvitaes everywhere. People do that at their homes. They put it here and there. Who's to say? I don't know where that stands, but that's something we'll have to do some research and figure out where that stands.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool, just changing the game up this year and kind of just going going a different route, man, and getting on those trails and those beds I found during shed season, and going back in there now, like there's tons of ferns and stuff, and you can see where they've been blown down, and you're like, well, fuck it, man. For early season, dude, if there's one buck that's been running this area, and I know that there's beds in there, there's been a ton of rubs and scrapes in there, and it's a deer that I've been after. I found his sheds, and it was just really cool to see that. And I really, man, I got my fingers crossed, because I hope that this plays out right. And if it doesn't, well, my preseason scouting, I think I kind of threw out the window, but I'll take it for what it is.
You know what? At least you have your cameras out there, and if you just wait like a few weeks or whatnot, check them. That'll tell all.
Yeah, and
it'll
that
guide
was
you the right way.
That was my goal. So I'm gonna let them soak for 2-3 weeks. We'll go to like the first week of September, I think, or maybe the last week of August. I'll pull them, and then if I have to, I can change them up. At least I can try and get myself on a game plan for the early season.
So guess who just gained another 100 acres? Abutting the existing land that I got.
Well, it's not me or Ryan, so it's you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and guess who got permission for you boys to join that specific land?
Well, it's not me or Ryan, so I guess it's you.
Was it Santa Claus?
No, you guys have permission as well. I got you guys permission.
Really great.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
We appreciate that, but
you don't hear about that too often, because you stingy fucks, it's like pulling teeth to do that up here. But your boy over here is, I'm telling you, these critters, they're so not pressured. It's unreal. And I found Fabio again on my trail camera.
That's awesome, man. That's
so
fucking
Fabio's
sweet,
still
dude.
there.
Bro, the only private land I got is my house, and you can hunt my house anytime you fucking want, man.
and that's the thing, like, I think about this all the
I
time.
got like 300 acres right now.
So, like, I think about this all the time, like, driving around and stuff. Or I've been like, oh, I'm going to go put this camera here. I'm going to go put this camera there. Dude, I've lost probably 99% of all my private land. Yeah. I really don't have any private land anymore. It's gone to the wayside. There's probably 1 or 2 spots that are private land.
What about that one?
Of them, well, that's what I'm saying. You guys can go there. That's a spot that I have permits for you guys. And there's really, I mean, other than that, I mean, I hunt one with Caddy Cowboy. But other than that, man, I've been just focusing myself on public land.
We still have that other 60-acre
We
piece.
do have the other one, and we have the really big one.
Yeah.
But
that's going to be hot this year, I think.
I'm excited because I think honestly, like, with all of the work that we put forth in there, and last year, we felt at the end of the season that we had wasted a lot of our time to go in there, and I don't think that that's the case. I think that we just pushed ourselves to the limit and just put a lot of time and effort in there, and then late season scouting and shed hunting in there. I didn't find all that much, but I kind of pinpointed and seen what we did wrong.
And that one spot where the ramps are ramped,
yeah,
the other one
for sure.
Like, that's going to be a nice piece too.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that public
that
spot.
One place.
Yeah, because me and Ryan had gone in there also.
3 of
that
us
was
went
another.
there
That's
time.
right. And then me and you went there together, and then me and Ryan had gone there after.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a lot of really good spots. I was going to go in there and put cameras, and I don't know why the fuck I didn't.
You don't need to, man. All the sign
no,
is there.
Right.
I know, and there was a cedar patch that was inside of there on the side of on the east facing ridge in there, and that place, I really want to get a fucking camera in there, probably the first couple of weeks of season, and see maybe kind of what's going on. Because a lot of the spots that we do find during the shed hunt season, they're those normal spots that don't kick off until the end of October, November.
Right. That one spot that I'm talking about where the river runs through it, that would be a perfect spot for throw and grow.
Yeah, but you know what, boys? What I've been thinking is last year we all learned so much about these spots. We didn't have any acorn crop. This year we do have an acorn crop. They're not big, but they're there.
That's what I was going to say.
It's going to be
a
little different.
Is holding on to that, like, as far as, like, them being smaller acorns, do you think that they'll last throughout the season, October, November? Or are they going to, because last year, I think that we missed out on a lot of the part where we didn't have so much, we had the crop early in the year, but it wasn't there late. We were targeting the wrong time, the wrong things at the wrong time.
Right.
Well, that's when you stop being fucking stingy on your gas tank and you come down to the hood.
Yeah.
And I got fucking 300 acres.
Well, that's the other thing, bro. We can't carry pistols when we're bow hunting here in the state of Connecticut, man. So
I get a little
need some exploding broadheads or something.
Leave your pistols at my house and we'll go hit the woods, right around the hood.
Well, see, my goal this season, and something to add to like what I want to do, is I get laid off September 31st. I only work Friday, Saturday, Sunday in October. But my thing is to kind of kind of catch base and with all of these supporters that we have that have offered up a lot of these spots, and I'm going to go and do 3-4 day trips with those guys and hunt those guys and go and try and hang and bang down in
with
Waterbury
Luke and Luke.
Well, so I'm gonna chase on that real quick. I talked to Luke on my ride home from work today. He is reaching out to him this week.
Word.
Sweet.
So that's going to be in the motion. You guys will actually all hear from him because we're going to try and get him on a podcast before we roll.
Word.
So, but anyways, dude, I'm just super pumped, man. Everything's kind of coming together. We're fucking, dude. How many days are we away from the season?
Not many, man.
No, we're like 45.
Yeah, a
something
little more
like
than
that.
a month.
So,
Yeah,
it's cool. I'm excited.
No one cares.
Yeah, fuck off.
Hello there, my fellow Slayers, and welcome back to another segment of the weekly Whitetail News with Ryan the Porn Star. Now, usually we talk about poachers, DNR fines for illegal hunting, and law changes. Well, I want to bring you just some straight savage kill stories. First up, this story is about a female archery mule deer hunter named Mariah who was hunting with her husband Travis in western South Dakota. These two savages perfectly stalked an absolute stud mule deer buck where Mariah was able to put an arrow through him at 2 yards. Yeah, that's right, 2 yards. They had the wind perfect. They came over this ridge. It almost looked like a little bit of a sandpit drop. And in the video, all you can see is just antlers. She walked up till this buck stood up, and she stuck him at 2 yards. Absolute hell of a kill. So next up, this savage up to deck is remaining anonymous due to the ever-growing threats from antis. We all know how that goes. They get more and more worse. I guess you could say that. As time goes on. But this Montana hunter was hunting elk with a bow when he was charged by a mountain lion. This lucky and skilled hunter credits his muscle memory, practice, and the EZV sight for being able to send an arrow at this charging cougar. And shout out to Garrett Benner because he lives for that EZV hunting sight.
That's because he doesn't have a Tetra.
Yeah, well, he should get one. So
Two of them?
I don't know, one for each eye, bro.
Yeah.
Come on. Stay with it.
Like a fucking pair of binoculars?
That's why you can shoot open-eyed.
Sorry, I just thought it sounded good.
It's all good. I appreciate it. So at less than 15 yards, this savage anonymous hunter put an arrow right through the nose of this cougar and killing this charging fucker in self-defense. So, of course, he had to leave it where it stayed. He had to call the local DNR. They had to come out, do their investigation. But it was self-defense while this guy was elk hunting. And he was able to calm himself, collect himself, and he put an arrow directly through the face of this mountain lion coming at him.
Did they let him keep it?
I don't know that. But
That'd
you know
be
what's
awesome.
even cooler? 2 days later, he did arrow a bull elk.
That's dope.
Imagine going back in the woods after that.
Hell yeah. That's
Hell
why we
yeah.
do it.
So practice. Something like this can happen to any of us. Now, we all don't have cougars running around the woods. Kind of wish we did.
We have
maybe
cougars,
a different
but
cougar.
Yeah, but
they're not in the woods. Anywho, the third and final savage archer for today's segment goes out to the one and only Bruce Ritter Clark, a.k.a. Hoss, a.k.a. the Arrow Doctor, a.k.a. don't leave your
guinea pigs
around him.
AKA, you'll find them at your local pet shop.
This may be a bit familiar to those of you who have listened to our first episode with Hoss, but for those who haven't, this absolute savage was on a bear hunt when he found himself in a position where he was facing a charging black bear. With just feet to spare, Hoss sent his ethics archery components through the head of the oncoming bear, getting a full pass-through and coming out the hind quarter of the bear.
So he's shitting out ethics.
Savage as fuck.
you.
Fuck you, bear. I shoot ethics. And that is your weekly Whitetail News /Savage Hunter shout out. And as always, send Trev every single nude. No, but for real, send me your news.
What
Fuck
the hell?
you.
What the hell is that noise? Welcome back to the Borderline Corral, Borderline Issues at Hand commercial segment. People, we need to support our local shops. We lead by example by starting from ground zero. If you're not shopping Gator Outdoors and you want to get bow work done right before your own eyes, shop at Trader Jan's Archery Pro Shop and Wicked Twisted Bowstrings to get that at-home feel and archery pro service. Supplying your archery needs since 1991. Get Wicked and Twisted at Trader Jan's. Which leads me to the engagement encounters, living our faith in love. Good course for good people. Get a pre-marriage prep breakdown to be successful at marriage. Let's bring marriage numbers up. Don't be a statistic. Be an example. And on that note, keep on sending us your request for a free tree stand safety harness. We have them for free. Just tell us you need 1, 2, or maybe 3 for free. Peace.
Oh, that's me. Foraging and fishing fun with East Coast Trev. Jesus Christ.
That's a big one, Trev.
Oh, yeah, here we go. And the striped bass bite is the best it has been all season long. They are living on every single reef and rock pile around every single corner. It's loaded down with big striped bass hitting that striper candy, aka eels. Also caught during the day on tube and worm and snap and parachute jigs. The bottom fishing for fluke was absolutely epic this week. Slobs up to 14 pounds. Fishing in deeper water up to 110 feet. Black sea bass is still lock and load with some absolute giant toads up to 5 pounds in the Connecticut, New York, and Rhode Island waters. Some really good, fuck me.
No, is this
really good? Fuck me.
Is this post-spawn fishing, right, Trev?
Yeah, post-spawn. Yep. So some really good lock and local reports of threshers in close smashing schools of bunker, followed by great push of makos in the local offshore areas. The canyons off of the coast are still producing great numbers of loads of pelagic fish, from tuna to swords, even some marlin. First report of small bonita tuna off of the shore of Newport. That means that the local false albacore or tunny are on their way and not far behind. Yeehaw! If you haven't fished for them, you're missing out. The freshwater news: there still is tons of smallmouth and largemouth to be found and caught up and down the Connecticut River, using their summer patterns with Senkos and slower baits during the day and top water in the evening. Yeehaw! The Connecticut catfish channel cat bite is still underway. Some really giants being caught in the deeper holes in the evening. If I were you, I'd use chunk deal. The bow fishing ports are absolutely epic. The modern assassin working class outdoorsmen have absolutely been slaying tons and tons of barrels of fish.
Especially snakeheads. Remember that one video?
Yeah, I know.
With all the fry?
Man, it's been epic, dude. They've been filling boatloads, and there's plenty of others. You know, you got Mitch, you got Nick Sampson. I mean, there's tons of guys. Bo, Fish and Life. Fucking, they're all just absolutely killing it.
It's on fuego.
And the stingrays, they're catching a ton of those too, or killing a ton of those. So in foraging news, good old friend and field reporter and journalist Mike Salter sent in some awesome foraging reports. First off, I was blown away with what I'm about to tell you, and that is that there's a very abundant plant called the staghorn sumac here in Connecticut, maybe many other places, I'm not really sure. It has a red berry, unlike the poison sumac, which has white berries, but it has many uses. A lot of people dry it out and grind it for table spices. Also, it can be used as cold berries or even steeped for tea and lemonade.
Do you have to get a tag for that stag?
Yeah, because it's a stag. If it's you get only antlerless.
Yeah.
You can have antlerless staghorn berries, but not antlered. So
make sure you ethically harvest them.
That's right.
I hope we don't confuse the fuck out of listeners with that one.
Also,
get your tags.
Also, Mike Salter told me about the wild wine berries which are at its peak here in Connecticut, which are an invasive species. I didn't even know that. Not something I need to do a little bit more research on, but pretty cool. Also, the chanterelles are abundant, and they're all over and can be found in many, many different areas, along with crown tip coral, which is starting to show up. Pornstar Ryan was telling me about that today, so that's something to check out also. But send in your fishing and foraging reports and pictures, and get out there and make the report. Don't read it or hear it from me.
Amen. And where'd you find that crown tip coral?
Actually, in my parents' yard. I noticed it last year, and they recently had their lawn mowed, and I could see just the stalks coming up. So the guy mowed right over them.
Where was it though? Like on what type of tree?
Underneath the pines?
Yeah, so there's underneath oaks over there, but I've found them in many different areas, on ridges, underneath pines. I mean, these corals are very abundant all over the place. I know last year when I found them, actually gave them to the ghost hunter. And he pickled them, put them in some salad. So there's a lot of different things you can do, but there are different types of corals out there. So do your research and make sure you know what you're picking.
Or else you'll be sticking to the ground, dead.
DEAD. If you guys don't know what that is.
All right, let's get Brian Broderick on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
How much alike we are. Perhaps we're long-lost brothers. We even think the same. You know there may be others. We can always use a friend. This family just keeps growing. This family doesn't have to end. Brothers. Brothers.
All right, back on the line with Brian Broderick from Day 6 Gear. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, man. I mean, I know you're a busy bee on your neck of the woods, and the fact that we can make this happen so quickly, it's like we appreciate that up and foremost, only because everyone in the industry, the quote-unquote industry, they're so heavily involved and everyone's on their own mission. It really consumes your time, so we're really grateful for you to make the time for going on a show where not a lot of people are going to listen.
Hey, man. Hey, it's managing expectations, right?
Yep. Wishful thinking, I call it.
That's right. Well, I'm gonna be spinning arrows while we're talking and sipping on a little brown water, so we can go as long as you want to go, or until I run out of arrows to spin.
Or run out of the water, but I feel like you won't run out of that.
No, and then I might not be having a very decent eye checking these arrows or not. There might be some wobblers to go out next week.
Well, we'll leave those as the mystery batch.
That's right. Those will go in the pro staff bin.
There you go. There you go. Can I be your pro staff? No.
Send those to East Coast Bowhunting.
Yeah. Oh man, this is gonna be a fun show, man. So let's kick it off right, Brian. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and where we can find you.
Well, Brian Broderick, born and raised in L.A. That's Lower Alabama, and founder owner Day 6 Gear. Kind of came to it by happenstance. Pretty much got tricked into doing it, and but it's been great and been a fun ride, and just love helping guys get their gear set up for big hunts, and love to see success when it happens and be a part of it, you know.
Hell yeah, amen, brother. So can you elaborate on how you got tricked into doing it?
Yeah. I got a buddy of mine over in Australia that is a buffalo outfitter. He does the big water buffalo hunts.
Nice.
And he owned Z-Lore arrows, which was one of the very first really heavy wall, super durable micro diameter arrows in the market. And I was just a fan of them, loved them, and shot them. And he was basically, trying to get me to partner with him to bring, the Z-Lores into the States. And, the first thing I said is, well, absolutely, I think, we need to have that, but it's like the worst name I've ever heard in my life. I mean, I couldn't think of of a worse name, So we're going to have to do something about that. But the arrows are good, and the components are okay. I've got an idea for some components that I've been kind of getting custom made myself. So he said, "You just do what you want to do. I'm good with it." So I got everything ready to help him bring the arrows with my new component designs and all to the market in the States. And then he decided that just overnight that he was going to go into the kangaroo jerky business, and that he had decided that I was going to buy Z-Lore from him and just do my own thing. So hell, I had so much time invested in it and gotten so attached and passionate about it and had everything ready to go in production. I said, hell with it. I'll just do it. It'll just be a fun little side business. It can't, get that big that fast. And, that just shows my ignorance. So,
boy, were you wrong.
Yeah. Well, where I first screwed up is I showed them to Aaron Snyder, and he was like, "Man, I really like these. You got to do this." And so, if he talks about something twice, my gosh, it just gets out of control. And so, man, this thing just took off. And I mean, it's just been a kind of like holding a tiger by the tail, the last year or so. So, but it's been fun.
Awesome, man. So let's kind of go around the roundabout and circle back to that. And let's start from the beginning as far as who Brian is. And tell us a little bit about yourself, like when you got into the woods or when you found your passion for it and why you chose stick and string.
Yeah, man. So my grandfather was a hunter. My dad was not. My dad was into my dad would basically race anything, motorcycles, cars, whatever. And so, when I was a little guy, he was, putting me on motocross and motocross tracks racing when I was 6, 7 years old. When I got, big enough to reach a gas pedal, he had me in stock cars, racing stock cars. And then during hunting season, my granddad, he was grabbing me and taking me hunting every single weekend because his two boys didn't like to hunt at all. So I just had this amazing childhood of just anything fun you could dream of as a kid. That's what we got to do. And, but hunting was it, man. That was the draw. I mean, if I had to make a choice on what I was going to do, it was always hunting.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. And, my grandfather was probably top 5 ever, worst hunters ever. and just it just never came naturally to him. So, just incredibly lucky that it just came really naturally to me. I don't know what it is, but it was always just natural, and I could figure it out. I could get it done. And so, as a young boy, I was, killing the biggest deer in camp every year, over all the grown men and all. And it just one of those things that, man, you just can't explain it. It just, it clicks. It makes sense to you. And probably the only damn thing I've ever been good at, to be honest with you.
That's pretty dope, man, because right now, I mean, we're all sitting right here looking at each other like, damn, man, is Brian really from Alabama, lower Alabama, or is he East Coast? Because, I mean, me personally, I can't speak for these boys, but that's what I grew up doing is motocross, BMX, anything fast, taking chances. And then my granddaddy was the one getting me in the woods and hunting. Well, actually not the woods, but it was more or less like jungle type. Not heavy, but in Mexico, their ranches, it's like a mixture of...
Sand dunes?
Nah.
Cacti?
Well, actually, yeah, some parts cacti, but it was like a mini jungle. I know everyone thinks Mexico is nothing but desert, but that's North Mexico. You get into the gut of it, that's insane. So back on track is like you're very relatable, especially the East Coast, because up and down the East Coast, that's all we do is we stock car race, we race bikes. I mean, shit, Brian, I came on 2 wheels tonight. just to make this. I was running late, so that's why I broke out the Busa.
Yeah. Well, I've been down in like Quintana Roo and all that, and I mean, there's more jungle in Mexico than there is desert.
Amen. Yep. Straight
That's
up.
one of my favorite parts of the world is down there. In that jungle down there, especially all the like mangrove marshes and all that. Snook fishing, tarpon fishing. I love to fly fish. And I've done some pretty wackadoodle shit down there in Mexico where I shouldn't have been, and probably would not do it now, knowing what I know.
You know what? It's funny. I'm starting to like you more and more the more we get into conversation, because our good buddy Kevin Vistleson from Deer Hunting Podcast, he's like, dude, you need to get Brian on. You two are like one and the same. He'd make a great guest. He's like, if you would close your eyes and listen to his story, he's like, you would think he's East Coast, and I'm like, he's proven me right, man.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I stand out down there in that country. I am pigmentally challenged. So
that's a nice way of putting it.
I kind of glow when I'm down there. So nowadays, if I was in that part of the country, I'd probably get kidnapped in about 15 minutes. So this is back, but when you could still bounce around down there in an old beat up truck towing a skip around, and nobody would try to get you.
Yeah, it's sticking out like bright eyes on a tree.
Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. So, how'd you progress? Go ahead, Ryan. You got something?
Well, I just want to take a quick step back. And were you shooting archery as a young boy, or did you start off with rifles and shotguns when you first started hunting?
Well, I started off with a Winchester Model 94 top eject 30-30. I still have it.
Hell yeah.
And that was my first rifle. And it would kick like a mule. I killed my first deer with that gun when I was 9, and I was aiming for the shoulder and I hit it in the head.
Oh, that does the trick.
Yeah, but what's amazing is that by 12, I was already bow hunting, and I would ride my bike up to the Kmart up the street from where we lived. And I had a gentleman at the church that I was very fortunate to have in my life that was just an incredible bow hunter, incredible outdoorsman. And you got to realize this is in, 1982, 83. There was no information system out there. There was no internet, no magazine, nothing you could get. I mean, it was life, field and stream, and fur fishing game. That's basically what you had to go by. And then the catalogs for archery back then were, black and white print. There wasn't any pictures or anything. So, anyway, I started bow hunting with this guy, and I'd ride my bike up to the Kmart and buy arrows one at a time. And of course, they were full-length aluminum arrows because, hell, I didn't have an arrow saw. And I would glue the outsert in, glue a field tip in, and I mean, that was it. And, I had no clue that my arrow was flying sideways and that was a bad thing, hunted with no sights, bare bow compound. My bow was a wooden riser Browning Nomad, but it was a compound bow. So I hunted with that bow for, I guess, 3 years until I was 15, and then I got my first real bow. And it was another Browning. And by the time I was, oh gosh, guys, when I was 17, I went on my first bear hunt in Canada. I skipped the first week of school and went up to Canada with this guy that I went to church with and killed my first bear at 17. So, I mean, you can tell I was infected as soon as I got a bow in my hand.
How'd you take them?
What's that?
With a bow.
Yeah, but what kind of bow though?
Browning.
And that was a I could tell you exactly what it was. It was a high country sniper. I don't know if you remember high country archery.
Nice.
but I don't believe they've been out of business a long time. So, and then right after that, I started working in an outdoor store, and worked there all through high school and college, or my last 2 years of high school and college, and I ran the archery shop. So I got to see the first Matthews solo cam. I got to see the first Oneida Screaming Eagle. And yes, it was as big a piece of shit back then as it is now. I got to see a lot of stuff come to life. And, a lot of companies, formed from their inception back then. It was really a cool time to be involved, in the outdoors.
What would you say was the game changer as you were like seeing all these different companies coming to light?
Like what was the
bow that kind of changed the industry, so to speak, that was like a wow factor that you saw coming up?
I would say it was probably, there was a bow called a Pearson Spoiler. That was one of the first bows I ever saw that got some real good speed. And then PSC came out with a bow called a Carroll Intruder. That thing was really, really slick. And believe it or not, Browning had a bow. Browning was big into archery back then. And Browning had a bow, and I cannot believe I've forgotten the name of it. I don't think it was a Knight, but shoot, I can't believe I've forgotten. But anyway, they had a bow that was really fast as well. So that was the first time we ever saw that bump from like 210, 220 to like 240, 250. And let me tell you, man, when you were shooting 250 back then, you were king ding-a-ling. I mean, you were moving an arrow. So, but you had to shoot, the lightest thing ever to get that. And it sounded like a firecracker going off when you shot it.
Right. It wasn't like, I'm trying to think of it. It's like on the tip of my, it wasn't not the Mirage, because that was a solo cam. It wasn't
No, it was the Mirage.
It was the Mirage?
Yeah, Browning Mirage. Yeah, and that was not a solo cam. No.
Oh,
right.
the first one. The first one. Yeah. I'm actually rocking the solo cam Mirage. Well, before I got my Elites, but yeah, that's what I was hunting last year, was with my Mirage, Browning Mirage, believe it or not.
Yep, the original Browning Mirage. That was one of the first bows that really, really got some speed up. And then I ran across Alpine Archery. I believe they were out of Idaho. And they made a bow called the Silverado. And that was one of the first, like, machined aluminum riser bows I had that wasn't a magnesium riser. Had some pretty aggressive cams on it. It had a all fast flight harness system, to where before a lot of the stuff we were shooting had a combination of cable, and fast flight string. And I shot that bow for a few years, and that bow taught me how to tune a bow, because I could never keep it tuned, because that string style harness system was always stretching. We didn't have the cool materials like we have now. And man, it was a pain in the butt to keep that thing tuned. But, that's kind of how I learned how to manipulate a bow and make it do what you wanted it to do,
Word.
That's
Word.
incredible.
That's awesome.
That's just like, to me, especially being younger, we never had to deal with that kind of thing. We were already into like the speed bows and everything like that, and we didn't have to, like you're saying, manipulate a bow.
Man, those things sucked so bad back then. You have no idea how hard they were to get. Like if you got a half-inch tear on paper, I mean, that was it, man. You told the customer, man, you're good, get out. We're not messing anymore,
I mean, when we started shooting bows, we started off with like overdraws. That's when like overdraws was like a huge thing, and then we progressed from there. So anything prior to that, like, I never had to deal with that stuff ever. Yeah, like an overdraw is like a new thing.
You want that shortest arrow possible with longest draw length
to get your speed out of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
I remember when the overdraws came out and everybody went speed, and I went down that rabbit hole too. And I feel so stupid now, because that slow moving heavy 2216 or 2219 aluminum I was shooting, with that 150 grain broadhead on the front of it. I mean, I was just plunking through everything I shot.
The Thunderheads, right?
You damn right.
Oh, yeah. I think we all took our first deer with a Thunderhead.
Man, for sure.
I would be embarrassed to say in public how many animals I've killed with Thunderhead, but it's insane, I promise you.
I kind of want to go back into my archery box and pull one out just to kill an animal with it this
I got
season.
many Thunderheads. I got still in boxes unopened Thunderheads.
I probably have a case worth.
So, go ahead, Brian.
No. I was just going to say, our broadheads that we came out with this year, I named them Evo, short for evolution, because it was basically the evolution of the broadhead for me in my life. And so I've been assembling this really cool timeline over the last 30-something years of different animals I've killed and the different broadheads I've used, to kill those animals. And I've been putting this thing together to kind of show the evolution of the Day 6 head and how I came to it. And man, like the Thunderhead days, I mean, there's too many damn pictures. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start because there's just so many. But I guess it was in 1992 or 93, I started shooting a traditional bow because one of my college professors was also a prison warden. And he had a prisoner there that was a bowyer. And they had set up a section in the wood shop at the prison, and this guy was making custom bows, and he was making them for everybody the warden knew, all his buddies and all that stuff. Well, hell, I was going out there in the evenings, and going into the prison with my buddy my professor that was the warden, and we were going in there in the prison building bows in the wood shop with this guy. And I started shooting a trad bow, when I was, 20 years old, 21 years old, something like that. And that's when I moved to like a 2-blade head and a real heavy arrow and really got to see what arrow performance was all about without the speed factor, because, I could throw a rock faster than half the bows we were building.
You could run faster than that, right?
Yeah.
You know what? That's interesting.
I got to see, get a good education on what it really takes to get through an animal. And so when you take kind of that awakening and then you dial that back up with the speed and efficiency of a compound, man, it's just, Katie bar the door then.
Shabby. Hey, actually, it's very interesting that you were shooting a bow or transitioned to shooting a bow that was made in jail. Now, was it like a specific brand, or did you name it something? Or was it? I mean, shit, I would have called it the Jailbird,
the Shank,
the Shank.
Well,
these guys.
Not,
go ahead.
Well, no, the bowyer ended up when he got out, he was making bows, and I want to say that he called them Killer's Customs.
What was he in jail for?
Well, it was actually we always got a different story, but the gist of it was drinking and driving and manslaughter. He was going down. He was from Montana, I believe, and he was going down to Florida for like spring break or something, and had a wreck and killed somebody in the car. So, but it happened in Alabama, and that's where he went to prison. So. And believe it or not, the warden, after he retired from the prison system, he continued to build custom bows himself and had a really cool career building really nice custom bows. And hell, I shot them for years.
That's incredible. Is that why going into the arrow aspect? Is that why you have a tapered arrow? Is because the traditional?
Well. Just be very vague on the answer because I wanted to kind of save that towards the end.
Oh,
because you're letting the goods out.
I'll be very vague, and just say they're not tapered.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We'll find that around the roundabout again, because I want to save the juicy stuff for the end. This way, that's what I want to know. Stop.
Okay.
But yeah, man, that's really interesting though. Have you disclosed that on any other podcast yet, or no?
What's that?
About the Jailhouse Bows.
No, I don't think so.
That's pretty awesome, man. Like I mean, we all listen to podcasts, so it's very interesting to even find that out. What you got, Ryan?
I want to take a quick step back when you were talking about the Broadhead, the Evo. You did mention that you mentioned your wife. So your wife's a big influence on your hunting and everything that you do in your life, or?
My wife is.
Why are you asking about his wife, porn
No,
star?
well, this is the podcast. Man. We're bringing out in everyone, all right?
Brian, tread lightly, man. This guy's a stud over here.
My wife has no interest in hunting. She's never wanted to hunt, never had a desire. But we dated for 8 years. And I'm not ashamed to say this. Only woman I've ever been with. And I am for her. We're our one only, just like Barry White says. And so I've known my wife since she was in first grade. My mom taught her in first grade. So I've known her that long, and I mean, we've clicked since that point. And but she understands what makes me tick. But I still dated for 8 years because I knew that all my buddies that were getting married, their lives changed. They didn't get to go hunting. They didn't get to go spend the whole month of September living out of their truck hunting elk out west like I was doing, and I wasn't gonna. I was too selfish of a person with my hunting to sacrifice it for anything. But after 8 years, I realized that she understood what made me tick. She understood what refueled me and gave me the kind of the inner fortitude to weather anything in business, life, whatever they throw at you, because I could basically go out hunting and just totally recharge, So she's never once, really given me any grief about the obsession that I've had and the amount of time and money and everything that I've devoted to it. So believe it or not, day 6 is totally because of her. When this came about, I mean, she was all for it. And she's wanted me to do something like this for years. And she's like, listen, we don't need to worry about, the quality of the bank account anymore. We need to worry about quality of life. You've done a good job, on that. So let's go to a lower stress, type business and do something that you love. And, I think you'll be incredibly successful at that. And I think it's what you ought to do. And so she was 100% behind it, but I don't like if you look at my social media stuff, I don't post a lot of stuff because I don't ever want to come across as, arrogant or, a braggart or anything like that. And she's always pushing me, to at least show the background. She's like, this is your business now. It's different. You're not bragging. You're just providing credibility, for what you're doing for people. So she's the one that pushed me to do kind of the evolution timeline and show all the animals and different broadheads and things like that.
You walked right into my question. So my question is, how many animals have you actually killed with a stick and string?
I will never answer that.
Okay. It's a lot. That's for credibility wise.
It is a lot, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
stay humble. I love it.
Humble man here.
That's a no-win deal,
No, I hear you, man. Yeah. I totally do. I had to ask because it's obviously you're going through all this timeline and you've been doing this for a very long time, and as you were saying, the credibility and you stay humble and so on and so forth. So you've obviously taken a very good number of animals, and you obviously have the experience, and that's why you are where you are today.
Well, a lot of it, though, guys, is a function of my environment. It's a function of where grown up. I mean, you grow up hunting in a state that has a 4-month-long deer season that up until 10 years ago, you could kill 2 deer a day for 4 months. And then, you throw the wonderful, noble hog on top of that, and it's just unlimited target-rich environment, So, but I never was satisfied just hunting around the house. I mean, 17 years old, I'm skipping school going bear hunting. And, the next year after I graduated high school, I changed my college schedule to where I took the fall semesters off, and I would go to school during the summer, and the fall was my summer. And so, the end of August, I was putting the camper shell on my truck, headed out west, and, living out of my truck, hunting multiple states, multiple species. And, this was before cell phones and all that crap. So, heck, I'd leave. I wouldn't call home for, 2 weeks. Nobody knew if I was alive, where I was at, or anything, So
that's incredible.
It was fun, though.
What was your craziest hunt that you had along your ways? Like the first one that comes to mind that kind of had you on edge.
Let's see. Well, there's a bunch of them, but one of them that comes to mind is I made a pretty poor decision up in northern Ontario one year. I was up there moose hunting, and I knew better than to get off of this trail I was on, because the boreal forest up there is extremely dense. It's just solid timber blowdowns.
I heard they use toilet paper pieces to keep track of where they were going up there.
Yeah, I mean, you hang toilet paper in the trees, so you can find your way out. Well,
right.
I had walked down this old logging road that had been, grown over 50 years, and it was just, wide enough for a person, and it had kind of become a game trail. And so I went off of the main logging road, and I walked about 2 miles down that thing until it played out in this swamp, or this bog. And I went as far as I could get, because I knew on my topo maps, these were paper topo maps, by the way, no GPS, that there was a lake and a marsh and an inlet where a river was flowing into Lake Nipigon, which is way up northern Ontario there. And so I knew that that was good habitat for moose. So I went to the end of that, and I was calling from there. And right at dark, I heard a bull grunt, and I could hear him splashing through the water, at that inlet. And so I figured I was maybe a couple hundred yards from him. Well, I guess it was so quiet and the wind was blowing out of the north in my face. They were probably a half a mile from me, but they sounded like they were right there. And so it's basically dark in the timber, but I knew when I got out in the open, I could still see to shoot. And so I just went charging through that marsh and came out in the grass, and the water was waist high and the grass was head high. Ooh. So I basically could wade through the grass, walk right up to the moose, and they couldn't see me. It turned out to be 2 bulls around 1 hot cow. And I waited, and I found a little seam in the grass, and I had to get super close because I was shooting a compound, but I couldn't. The water was so high, I couldn't hold my bow vertical because the lower limb would have been in the water. So I had to get basically within 20 yards of this bull and shoot it like a recurve, on an angle, to keep the lower wheel and limb out of the water. And I got within 20 yards of this bull and killed him. And so once that kind of, all the water and chaos went, subsided, and the bull went over and fell over, I turned around to where I came from, and it was just black. It was just solid forest, and I had no idea where I was and how to get back. I just knew that at that point I was on the bank of Lake Nipigon. I knew I was on that shoreline, and I knew that I was on the southern shore. And I knew that somewhere to my east along that shoreline, and I wasn't sure how far, was an old boat ramp. And I knew if I could get there, I could get to the truck. I could get to the road, and then from there I could walk back till I found a camp or found somebody. That walk took me, I guess about 7 hours wading through the water with boulders and rocks. I broke my bow. My light died halfway through it. I had no flashlight. It was cold as balls. But I knew if I got off that shoreline, I was dead because I would never be able to find my way out, in the dark. And so I just kept following that shoreline. And the only reason I didn't just park right where I was and just sit till daylight was because I was with another guy, and I was supposed to pick that guy up at, like 3 miles away from where I parked my truck. So that guy was stranded too. So it was a bad deal. And so I finally found my way out. And when I got to the ramp, that old boat ramp, this old gravel ramp, and I got about a quarter mile up the road, 5 trucks came over the hill, and it was a search party looking for me. My buddy had hitched a ride 40 miles back to the closest town. He went to an Indian reservation and got a bunch of half-drunk Indians, and they came back with their pickups and their spotlights looking for me, and they finally found me. And it was about, I guess it was probably maybe 4:30, 5:30 the next morning, right before daylight. It was a bad deal. So that's just one of them.
Insane. Totally insane, man.
And then we had to go back to town and borrow a boat to get back and get that moose out of there because we couldn't pack the moose out. He went across the river and died.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, especially that. You're trekking to find out where you are and find someone, and when you take an animal of that size, it's like that's when the work really starts. How long did it take you to get the whole animal out, you think?
Well, that was actually easy because he literally fell on the shore, like right on the bank.
Oh, you got so lucky with that, man.
Yeah, and
so
we literally drove the boat right up to him, and all the guys that my buddy had befriended to come look for me, they were all fired up. So they went back to town with us and got a couple boats and came back, and I ended up splitting a bunch of meat with them because we couldn't get it all back, and we ended up drinking more beer in the boats than we did working on elk. We spent more time beer drinking Labatt Blue than we did, cutting elk up. So that was the easy part. But, I had a couple of really bad falls, when I got to some areas where there was a lot of boulders on the shoreline, and I had to kind of climb up and over. And looking back, it was really stupid because if I would have really hurt myself so far away from where I actually was, no one would ever have found me. So there was some bad decisions made there,
Now, did it ever cross your mind to camp out for the night and kind of set up camp and wait until daylight, or you just wanted to get it out?
Well, in my mind, I always thought that I was, like one bend away. I'm like, around that point right there, that ramp's got to be right there. And I just didn't realize how many of those coves were between me and there. I probably only went maybe 2 miles at the most as a crow flies, but the amount of shoreline, going in and out, that's what, took so long and it was so, deceiving.
So for the newer hunter, and just to get a better grasp of the scenario, what was your gear and attire? Because you said the water or the swamp was waist deep. Were you rocking waders or anything like that, or you just kind of?
Oh no! I had lacrosse rubber boots on, knee boots.
Oh, so they filled up with water too? Jesus.
Oh yeah, they were totally full. Yeah, it sucked, and all cotton clothing. There wasn't anything Sitka gear or anything like that.
Yeah.
No, it was a suck fest for sure.
Damn. That's why when you said cold as balls, I'm like, yeah, Northern Ontario, but then you add the water waist deep and you're soaked. Fuck, man. That's insane.
It is. I mean, it's so funny. I get so caught up in my gear now, and I think I enjoy that part of it as much as I do the hunting. And I know that it's not completely necessary, but I enjoy it. I like geeking out over the gear, and I like, having something to think about year round. It keeps me engaged, and makes me feel like I'm still getting to do what I like to do. But yeah, man. I mean, if y'all want another one, I'll tell you another good one.
We got all night.
Okay. So we were caribou hunting up in northern Quebec in the Ungava Basin. And
hold on, Brian. Can I interrupt 1 second? If we're going on to another story, we got to do this right.
Okay.
Bean.
All right. Sorry to interrupt, man. Please proceed. Now I'm ready.
So we were caribou hunting, and the herd had missed the area we were in by about 5 miles, and up there, 5 miles over that muskeg that you walk on, all the lichens, and it's like walking on a sponge, and your legs just burn. It's worse than any beach you've ever walked on. Well, the herd had missed us by a long way, and there was 6 of us or 8 of us there. Remember, I can't remember, but one of the guys that I had got to meet us up there was a guide out of Ontario that I used to hunt with a lot, bear and moose, and he's the toughest sumbitch I've ever been around in my life. Well, he and I hiked up the top of this ridge, and we were glassing, and we caught a glimpse of caribou on the horizon. We could just see their silhouettes, and we did not realize how far it was. But we kept going, and we finally got over there to them, and we got over there late. And I ended up killing a bull, and we didn't have any damn clue how far we were. We did keep some landmarks so we could find our way back. But we got about halfway back, and then it got dark. But I did have a compass, and I had taken some good readings. So we navigated by compass on the way back. Well, we had gotten within sight of the camp, but we had come in from a different direction. We came in on the west side of this river, and we were camped on the east side of it. And how in the hell we crossed that son of a bitch? And I don't know. I guess it was so far up, we didn't realize we were crossing the same river. But we came in on the wrong side. So I got, a couple hundred yards from camp and had to cross this river. And I took my light and shined it down. And I thought I saw this big rock, like, a few inches under the water that I could step on and then jump across. Well, that damn thing must have been like 3 feet under the water. And when I stepped, I went down. And when I went down, I went under. But before I did, I hit my head on the next rock.
Oh,
and about 110 pound pack. He and I split that caribou up equally and carried it out in one pass, And I mean, I was basically jelly. I had no more muscle, I was gone. I was so exhausted. And, but when I fell, I hit my head, and then all that weight, and I got caught in that current. It washed me out into the mouth of the lake, and my buddy couldn't get to me. And I was struggling to keep my head above water. It kept, pulling me down. And, finally, I just got really, really lucky, and I hit like a sandbar there, and I was able to get my foot and stood up, and he came out there and got me and pulled me back to the shore, and I had cracked my head wide open. I mean, it was bad.
Jesus.
I know, but, I've had stupid stuff like that happen all the time on these hunts.
We call those Trev's bloopers around here.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Oh man, I can only imagine though. And you guys, I mean, I know your boy was probably freaking out, right?
Oh yeah,
kind of screaming for you and stuff.
Yeah, he was. He was a pretty cool character. I mean, he's a Canadian, and he's made his living as a trapper. Well, he was a hockey player, a boxer, a trapper, and a logger. So I mean, he's basically taken the
Jesus, every manly man thing that you could be.
Yeah. So I mean, he figured one way or another he'd fish me out of it, but he was kind of panicking when his light hit me and all he could see was blood running down my face. So, but see, that's why my wife I guess I can't remember when it was, but right before my son was born, she said, "Hey, I've been really cool about this. From here on out, no more solo hunts. I'd like for you to always have somebody with you because you do some dumb shit." So,
you know what? That's solid advice, man. That's solid advice.
It was smart. I started hunting with buddies then,
Hell yeah.
And you know what? This is for the women that are all smarter than us that we're with here.
Shabine.
They keep us aligned and they keep us alive.
Yeah, that's true.
No doubt.
Definitely keep us grounded too. So talking about that, that's actually a really good piece of advice. So never solo hunt if you could help it. Now knowing what you know and you've kind of seen all the transitions of evolution, now in this day and age, what are the top 5 essential things that you would bring on a hunt? If you could only bring 5, including your weapon. Like weapon and arrows, that's 1.
Okay. Well, it depends on what kind of hunt it is. Are we talking about like a remote wilderness hunt or what are you talking about?
Let's keep it general so it's more relatable. Let's just say your basic in-state whitetail hunt.
Oh, yeah. I got you. Okay. Well, if it's a whitetail hunt, if I don't have my wind checker, I'm not going hunting. That's number one. I've got to know what that wind's doing because I'm obsessive about how I'm setting up a certain spot. And most of my whitetail hunting is mobile. I do not do permanent stands hardly at all. And most of it is a climbing stand. If I'm in the type of country that's got the kind of trees that you can climb. If not, it's very light, lock-on style. But wind checker, number one, you got to have that. If it's whitetail hunting, I've got to have my phone or I'll fall asleep. So I've got to keep that going. But the other thing is for whitetail hunting, I'm very specific about what I carry in there as far as like food, because there's lots of foods that you can take in that'll actually keep you alert and awake, and there's a lot of foods that you can take in that just makes you drowsy and that kind of thing. So I'm always trying to stay alert.
So what are those foods that keep you alert?
Well, anything that's like high carbs, high sugar, that kind of stuff, but it also has protein. Protein actually keeps your metabolism going and all. So like, jerkies and stuff like that. Anything with high sugars that'll keep you alert. You don't want to take a turkey sandwich in there, because it's going to wipe you out.
Right.
There's all kind of other stuff. The other thing is for whitetail hunters, this might be I don't wear insulated boots ever. I wear one pair of medium wool socks, insulated boots, and what I always have in my pack is the down boot blankets that go over your boots.
Oh.
Yeah. So that has kept me in a stand longer than anything. And then I'll never go to a stand without a down jacket or a down vest. I don't care what temperature it is.
That's actually that's a real good ninja tip.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
If you think about it, the down feathers, that's what blocks wind and keeps waterfowl, dry and warm.
Well, and it doesn't take up any space at all, and it's zero weight.
Yeah. No, that's a really good one. That's a really good one.
Because I've hunted in 40-degree weather, to where you could basically go in a shirt, a light jacket, and you're fine. But if you have like a little storm blow up or something, and the wind starts blowing, that's when it cuts you down, and you can't stay in there if you're cold. And if you do stay in there, when it comes time to close a deal, you're all stove up. You can't go through your mechanics of making a good shot if you're all, ginked up, freezing cold. And down is the ultimate equalizer for me. Those little booties, I'm telling you, man, I learned a long time ago going in with these super expensive insulated boots. That's the biggest kiss of death that you'll ever deal with as far as your feet freezing off. Regardless, I mean, your feet are going to sweat so bad walking to the stand, and then when you get up there and stop, it's just going to freeze. So I actually wear leather uninsulated boots with one thin, medium pair of wool socks, basically just like what you'd wear every day to work, not the boots but the socks. And then once I get in the stand, I let my feet dry just a little, and then I'll put those down booties over, and you're done. And
Nice.
those things pack down the size of a baseball.
That's actually really good advice because, and just for our listeners out there, if you're hearing Brian's volume going up and down, I'm only assuming that you have us on speakerphone, right?
I do.
Okay.
I'm standing in one place, though. Is it not coming through good?
No, you sound good, but we do see the fluctuate because on our software we see the wavelengths, and just for our listeners out there, so they know. And
he's a busy working man.
He's
turning arrows.
No,
right
you
now.
sound good, man.
Yeah,
you sound good.
Great. Keep doing what you're doing.
But that's actually really good advice because me personally, especially on a really cold night, I do wear insulated boots with a pack of socks. And what I actually talk about sweating, your feet sweating, I take the opposite route. And, I'm really new at whitetail hunting, but I've been hunting all my life. And with ground zero or below zero temperatures, my feet are sweating the whole time. Like I even put feet warmers on tops and bottoms of my feet. And I'm telling you, my feet will never get cold. But Jesus Christ, am I hot as fuck.
The problem is that the best insulator for any application, regardless of what it is air.
Right.
Trapped air is the best insulator. That's why in houses there's air spaces between layers.
That makes sense.
So, when you've got that little space of air between your shoes, between your socks and your shoes, you've got to have some space there. You can't have them jammed up tight in your boots. That is an insulator. And then when you go over the outside of the boot with that down booty, you've got another layer of air that's being trapped between the two. And your feet don't sweat, but they don't get cold. It just stays comfortable, And so, it's not like you're having to walk once you're up there, so you're not worried about moving around. And those things have little felt bottoms on them. They're quiet as hell. So, where we live, the damn mud's so bad that after you're up in a stand hour, the mud starts drying and falling out of your boots. Between the layer, the rungs of your stand or the frame of your stand, and you don't want that. So I put those little booties over there with the little felt bottoms, and it keeps all that mud and stuff from falling out of your boots, out of your stand while there's deer around you.
No, and that's a great tip in itself, Brian. You're talking about how air is the best insulator, and I come from a little bit of a snowmobiling past where I always learned loose is warm. You don't want those tight fitting boots. You're out there snowmobiling and negative 20 degree temperatures. You want a little bit of a bigger boot so you have that airflow in there, and that air is going to help you, with your natural body temperatures coming out, and it's going to insulate your feet as well. So that's a great tip. You're just full of ninja tips right now. We haven't even gotten to that.
Well, I'm gonna run out of shit to say when you get to that part.
Oh, I don't think you are.
No, man. I think you'll pull the rabbit out of the hat when it comes to that.
Okay.
Well, to go along with the air insulation, like the military jump pack boots, they actually have like an air plug-in in the side of it.
Yeah, the Mickey Mouse boots, right?
Yeah, the old Mickey Mouse boots. Yeah. Yep. Don't ask how I know. I wasn't in the military, but we used to have them as kids. We used to steal them from our father.
So, I mean, that's probably the biggest game changer for me is when I kind of understood that and figured that out on my own on how to keep my feet warm. That was a major game changer. And then understanding, you know, how to do the proper layers, you know, for your clothing. I never really understood that. And then once, you know, you figure that out, there's really no reason to ever get cold in a stand anymore. So I will say this, as far as, I don't know if I'd said 4 or 5 pieces of gear, but if I didn't, whatever the 5th would be, you've got to have an outer layer with wind stopper or some type of wind impervious membrane in it. If you cannot stop wind from coming through, you will never be warm, period.
That's good advice too. That's why I usually have some type of wool on me. I mean, I cheat as well. I have a heated jacket that I use as a base layer. Just in case I do end up starting to get cold, I just turn on the heated jacket and I'm good to go. You know, and that usually lasts damn near all day because I'm not doing, if I do all day sits, I'm not doing any more than like 8 hours max, you know?
Yeah. Is that one of those things like Milwaukee Tools makes?
Yeah. Actually, truth be told, a long time ago, I sold a patent for that to Snap-on, and mine is made by Snap-on. And,
I got you.
And it's funny, that was my little segue to this Mexican ass got through Kurt Geyer's wall from Working Class Bowhunter. Is I sent them out heated jackets, and it that was like the no-brainer for them to like contact me. And
I got you. I didn't know that we were in the presence of, you know, heated jacket technology royalty here. I mean, I'm impressed.
It's one of those things, man. It's just I dip my fingers in everything, and sometimes I get lucky. You know, that's all it is. I'm like that wackadoo scientist that makes all these weird shit that no one really cares about, but every once in a while I come up with something good. All right, so Brian hung up on me because he didn't want to hear my fucking story. So sorry, Brian.
I thought this was all about me.
Yeah. You know what? Before we dip into it hard about Day 6 gear, let's take a little break and tell us a little bit about your brown water and your tradition that you get into out of Kentucky.
Oh, yeah. So,
did you think we forgot?
No. No. We make a little pilgrimage up to Kentucky, and we'll go through the distillery there where they make Woodford Reserve and sample some of the barrels. And, you know, I don't have the sophisticated palate to be able to tell the difference between any of them. But my pretentious buddy thinks he does, so I'll let him do his thing. And then once he makes his, you know, decision, we'll purchase that barrel, and then they'll actually private label the bottles for us, and I take half and he takes half, and we private label them for our companies and stuff and give them away as gifts. And I consume most of mine, but we give away some of them too. So that's I know this is going to sound like a girly drink, but you guys were talking about cherries or something a second ago.
That was Trev. That was Trev only.
Oh, okay.
Just to be clear.
I was drinking a Moscow Mule. I was drinking a Moscow Mule, and I had cherries in it. That's.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
Fly your flag, brother. Fly your flag.
Trev, fly this flag, bro.
No, there's a drink down here in the South called a red snapper, which is like the big offshore, you know, reef fish that everybody comes to the Gulf to fish for.
Yeah, we know all about that.
Yeah, so there's actually a drink down here called a red snapper, and it's got you know, good bourbon like a Crown or something like that in it. I believe it's got grenadine but it's got and cranberry juice. But I actually just mix a little cranberry juice with my Woodford, and it is, man, I guess it makes me feel better that it's like somewhat healthy because there's a fruit in it. It may be only 2 drops, but it makes me feel better anyway.
There you go. Whatever works.
Right.
Whatever works.
That's right. So
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So yeah, let's dig in deep. We're back to the roundabout. Let's get into day 6 gear.
Okay.
You told us how you got tricked into it and how it evolved into something that you necessarily weren't ready for, and now it seems like you got quite the handle on it. And if you don't mind, let's start off how you mentioned earlier that no, it's not tapered. Can we start there?
Oh yeah. So the arrows are not tapered. They are micro diameter though. And the component system, or the outsert that goes on the end, it is larger diameter than the micro diameter. So that may been what you meant by tapered. That it goes from basically the standard 5/16 diameter arrow at the end of the outsert, and then it tapers back to a 4 millimeter arrow. So that in itself, I have discovered is just an incredible advantage with regards to penetration, because you literally have one point at the very front of the arrow that is, larger than the rest of the arrow behind it. So as soon as that one, everything behind it is really not touching. So there's zero friction, zero contact, as far as penetration goes. I mean, that's what it's all about, the least amount of resistance. So you combine that with a heavy wall design, and these shafts, they're heavier, per inch than your average shaft, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to have that mass, behind the head. I'm a firm believer in a heavier mass is a advantage for momentum.
Hell yeah. Everyone loves heavier shaft behind the head, man.
You got to have the heavy mass.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
I'm sorry. We're little kids over here, man. But
no, I know where you're going with it.
No, but we follow. We follow. Sorry.
So to break it down for our listeners, you have a micro diameter shaft, but you have a standard diameter outsert system to be able to fit any head, correct?
That's right.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
It's got to be universal, so it'll accept any standard, head or point. And then it's got a smaller diameter behind it, but it's also got, a lot heavier grains per inch than normal. And so, I'm not one of these guys that thinks, you've got to have 650 grains, to have the proper amount of mass. I'm more of the camp of having your bow be efficient, and utilizing the energy, of that bow the most efficiently. So by that, what I've found over the years is that, just say for a 30-inch draw guy, at about 8 grains per pound, that's pretty much the kind of that sweet spot of efficiency for getting all the energy out of the bow into the arrow. If you're lighter than that, you end up putting a lot of that energy back into the bow in the form of vibration and noise and all that.
That makes sense.
If it's too heavy, you end up putting it back into the bow in the form of, overloading the bow and collapsing it. So, you're a car guy, or you guys are car guys. So it's basically the same thing as getting the right gear in your rear end, to get because you've got a fixed amount of horsepower. And so how do you get that horsepower to the ground the most efficiently? Well, the main thing that you screw with is the gears. And you find that sweet spot, so you're maximizing the efficiency of that engine and getting it to the RPMs you want, and delivering the most horsepower to the ground. it's the same thing with your bow. It's the same thing with like a prop on a boat. You know, you play with the prop until you get the perfect balance of, you know, whole shot, speed, efficiency, the whole thing. It's the exact same thing. You're trying to find that arrow and that amount of mass that's going to utilize that fixed amount of energy that bow is going to produce, because it's not going to change. That's your constant. Your variable is your arrow.
That makes it, man, total sense, man. I love how you break it down because, you know, we're an educational platform and we really target the everyday person, like especially the person that wasn't good at school, and that makes total sense what you just said.
Yeah.
So what is Day 6 really known for? Like what's your niche that everyone seeks out Day 6 for?
Well, it's basically the all around package for an arrow. You've got a micro diameter shaft that is an advantage for penetration. And then you combine the micro diameter design with a heavy wall, heavier grains per inch construction. So that provides for an advantage in penetration. Then you couple that with a really durable, self-centering design for your component that goes on the end. And so what we're known for is that it's basically the ultimate arrow in one stop. You don't have to go, you know, buy brand X and then go buy, you know, like components from like the guys over at Ethics, which they make badass components. But it's, you know, you basically have to cobble together the arrow that you want from different parts and components. You know, we do it all in one spot. And, you know, we tested the vanes that we use. I mean, we shot every vane on the market. We had, you know, we filmed it and had decibel meters to see which one was the quietest, which one stabilized broadheads the best. We tested all of that before we picked which vane that we would, you know, fletch our arrows with. And then we hold very tight tolerances. We have our arrows built to 1,000 straightness and within 5,000 tolerance on the spine.
Unless the brown water kicks in, right?
Well, the arrows are supposed to be manufactured to 1,000 straightness.
Right.
But I don't trust anybody. There's the right way and the wrong way and my way. All the guys that work for me joke about. And so I don't trust anybody to do what I've told them to do. So when I get the arrows in, I spin every shaft before it goes to the next step. And if it doesn't spin perfect and it's not 1,000 straightness, it goes into a bin. And then I'll come back another day and I'll cut 2 inches off the back end and 2 inches off the front end. And I'll get it down to a 28.5-inch shaft and I'll spin it again. And if it doesn't meet tolerance at that point, it goes into the coal pile. So I make sure that whatever we're doing, whatever we're sending out is what we say it is. And if I trusted the factory to send me just 1,000 straightness arrows, I wouldn't be doing anybody justice because that's not what I'm getting.
Very cool. So now you're talking about the micro shafts, the standard outserts, the different lengths, the different tolerances. What is currently your weight, including your broadhead or your field point? What weight arrows total are you running right now that you think is the best for your setup?
Well, one of the big messages that I always try to get across is one size does not fit all in archery. It's a very fluid, organic thing when it comes to picking the right combination. So, a guy that has a 30, 31-inch draw, shooting 70 pounds, I'm going to tell him, hey, you want to follow that model. You want to build a 8 grain per arrow, an 8 grain per pound setup, and you want to shoot a 560 grain arrow. And the reason I say that is because IBO speeds are measured very loosely, of course, for marketing purposes, but they're measured at 30 inches. So when you take a guy like me that shoots a 28-inch draw length, well, I'm not shooting the same speed that the guy with the 30-inch draw length is. I'm not generating the same power stroke and the same amount of energy. So that 8 grains per pound doesn't translate. So, if your guy has like a 29-inch draw, I'd say, back 20, 25 grains off of that, and shoot a 535, 540 grain arrow. Dropping back to 28 inches, I'd say, take another 20, 25 off of that and shoot a 500, 510 grain arrow. So it's not a one size fits all. And then with regards to like youth and female shooters that are shooting, say, 45, 50 pounds, 25-inch draw, they're not really generating a lot of energy. So, you would think, okay, well, you're going to have to make them a really light arrow. Well, I go the other way once I kind of hit that threshold. Once I get down to like a 26-inch draw, regardless of the weight, I start going the other way. So let's say that I've got a lady that's shooting a 50-pound bow and she's got a 25-inch draw. I'm actually going to build her a 500 grain arrow that's 10 grains per pound, because now she doesn't have the speed side of the momentum formula to generate any type of energy. So I'm going to offset that and augment that formula with more weight so she can still get decent penetration. And at the end of the day, they're not shooting 50 and 60 yards. Females, youth, they're shooting low poundage, short draw bows. They're 30, 40 yards max. My son, who is 19 years old, has never killed a deer over 20 yards. You don't have to be successful, So I'm setting up bows differently in different arrow configurations for each individual person. And that's kind of what we do. Is every person that calls is going to talk to me. And I'm going to say, this is what I think you need to be the most efficient at killing animals. I don't give a shit about shooting foam. Not my pig, not my farm. It's not what I'm about. I'm setting up bow and arrow setups to kill animals efficiently and have the arrow go all the way through and have 2 holes.
Now, that's really cool. And how you break it down and makes sense too. And you were talking about your broadheads. You guys make broadheads as well?
Yes.
So being in Alabama, I would only presume that the hog species is probably one of the high test animals to test things out and test parameters.
You damn right.
Hell yeah. Can you dip into that a bit?
Yeah. Anybody that listens to this that has hunted hogs, they can confirm the statement I'm about to make, but a hog is probably one of the toughest animals to penetrate and kill with a bow and arrow. Just the way they're built, their density, their cartilage, shield that they have that covers their vitals. They're just a very difficult animal to penetrate. It is. I'm convinced that God put hogs here for trad hunters and for guys that want to test bow and arrow equipment, because they are the ultimate test laboratory, and they are a ball to hunt. There's nothing better. They're quite delicious.
Amen to that. And what's the name of your broadhead?
Evo.
Evo. As you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And
you weren't paying attention.
No. I just want to reiterate for our listeners, so this way, because this is a longer episode. We've actually had longer, believe it or not, but this is all great information. So I just want to reel people back into your broadhead, what you mentioned earlier, and this is something I want to say. I'm like having deja vu. I don't know if it was our conversation off the air the other day, but I want you to elaborate more on why they're the best creature for that. Only because I think you were talking about the rib cage, right?
The shield.
Well, no, it's their shield. They have basically a cartilage shield over their vitals, around their shoulder and behind their shoulder there, and it's the way a hog fights. They have their tusks basically, or tushes, what the southern people say, but they have those, and they'll, when they're fighting, they basically get beside each other and they're hitting each other, basically in the vitals at an upward sideways motion, trying to penetrate that. And so that's how they're kind of set up. And, and then they're a very dense, compact animal. You'd see a hog laying on the ground and say, oh, that's probably a 150 pounder, and it's probably 250. They're so dense on the hoof. And the other thing too is regardless of their mass and their shield and all that, they tell a really good story with regards to what a broadhead needs to do to kill an animal, because they have a really high fat content. And so when that broadhead goes through, first their hair, which is extremely coarse, it's almost wire, it really dulls fast. And then when it goes through the actual hide, the hide is, in some of these big hogs, almost an inch thick. Then once it gets through the hide, it gets to this crazy heavy fat layer. And then once it gets through the fat layer, it hits this shield. And then once it gets through the shield, it hits this deep muscle. And it's going through all this dense meat. So it just tells a wonderful tale about what a broadhead needs to do to be, efficient and successful. And number one, it's got to be razor sharp. And shooting trad bows my whole life, we resharpened everything. I realized that no matter how good or proficient I've become at sharpening, I can never get a blade as sharp as it really needs to be, like it would come from a scalpel factory, and the sharper it is, the better it does at killing, because we kill with a bow through hemorrhage. It's not through impact or shock like a rifle. That's why the formula for kinetic energy really has no place in archery. Doesn't mean anything. Is the formula that we should be chasing. So, because that's what gets the broadhead to the other side of the animal and stick it in the ground. So the sharpness is overall number one, and then it's got to stay together. It's got to be a durable, head that doesn't break, because it's got to get through all of that mass, whether it's a good shot or bad, and get to the other side, or at least get into where the vitals are in the thoracic cavity. So, number one, a broadhead for me, it's got to be razor sharp. Number two, it's got to stay razor sharp, which that goes back to the type of metal that it's made out of. The higher quality metals will retain the edge longer. And then the way you help a broadhead retain its edge is by its design. So you want to have a very non-aggressive blade angle. You don't want it to be perpendicular to the arrow fly. You don't want it to be 45 degrees to the arrow fly. You want it to be a very slight angle to where you're slicing instead of chopping. Does that make sense?
Yeah, without a doubt, for sure.
Yeah. So if you take a really sharp knife and you lay your finger on a table and you put that knife on top of your finger, think about the amount of pressure that you have to push down to cut through your finger.
Oh, you should see my shank, man.
Yeah. So then you take the same knife, and just from the weight of the knife itself, just grab the handle and just draw it backwards, and it slices right to the bone. And so that's what you want your blade angle simulating as it's going through an animal. You don't want to be chopping, because number one, that dulls it. Number two, it takes way too much pressure, to slice, to where if it's pulling and drawing, it's slicing open, and it's, helping the penetration because it's not providing resistance.
Nice.
Is that too long-winded?
No. No, that's
You're just
exactly
full of
what
all
we're
these
looking for.
crazy ninja tips.
Yeah.
You're just like the ninja tip master.
Yeah, save them, Hank. Wait for it. Wait for it.
Speaking of which.
Speaking of it.
So you did make it to the first segment of our show is Ninja Tip of the Day. Brian Broderick from Day 6 Gear. What do you have as a ninja tip? The ninja tip of the episode.
Well, I know this is probably gonna disappoint you guys. But if you want to know the key to getting to hunt a lot and doing what you love, you better make sure that mama's nest is secure. You better make sure there's money in the damn bank before you go off screwing off. And you better make sure that whatever you were supposed to take care of is taken care of before you leave. If you've got money in the bank and mama's nest is taken care of, she's not going to be bitching while you're going hunting all the time. The guys that catch so much shit for going hunting all the time are the guys that are not doing their part and doing their job. So that's it, man. Make sure the nest is secure and you won't hear any chirping.
That is a solid ninja tip, man. If you follow through, you get listeners out there listening right now. If you follow through with that, you'll always keep mama happy and you'll never go wrong. You know, you'll get to hunt just about as much as you'd like to.
And you know, I think that hits all of us working class, blue collar guys. You know, we're all family men. We're all working guys, and you got to make sure everything is right at home before you hit those woods to who knows how long you're going to be gone for.
Hell yeah. You mix that with the Ryan Off Grid, Ryan Bodwin from Wisconsin. He has a calendar, and his mama like X's off the days where he can't. I mean, that's fail-safe between the two, you know?
Yeah, the thing is that this is the honest truth. You know, we're different creatures. Men and women are just totally different creatures, and so, you know, women are constantly worrying. They're constantly worrying about their safety, their security, the security of their kids, everything. And when you don't have your shit together and you're bailing off to go hunting to, you know, serve, you know, be self-serving your needs and your wants, but you're leaving her in a lurch because you hadn't taken care of business, it ain't gonna work, you know. And ultimately, you're going to pay the price yourself because you're not taking care of what you're supposed to take care of. So you're just prolonging the inevitable. You're running 100 miles an hour in front of a 90 mile an hour train. Eventually, you're going to screw up. It's going to come crashing down. But you make sure your shit's wired tight before you go. If that's your first priority, man, it's good for you and them, because when you're in the stand, you're not sitting up there worrying about the bills you didn't pay or worried about how you're going to make this shit work or something that you put off and didn't do, you know, you're going to catch hell from when you get back to work on Monday. You got to take care of your business first, man, because unless hunting is paying your bills, it's a luxury. And
a privilege too, man.
And a privilege. That's right. And if you do that over everything else, you're doing hunting a disservice because you're making it something unpure in my mind.
Well put, man. Well said. Well said. So, I mean, being a busy dude and you know, because like you said so earlier, you know, you're working class as well, so you really make the magic happen in the wee hours of the night. And I mean, shit, you're doing a podcast right now. We could hear you spinning arrows. I mean, do you ever branch out for outside help sometimes to catch up with certain orders of specialty or?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've got I've got a couple of people that help me, you know, with like the fletching and stuff like that. And then I've got, you know, some great vendors or company partners that I, you know, get materials from that, you know, they work well with me to create a very efficient system so I don't have to staff up. You know, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to make this thing this giant company with this huge 800-pound gorilla for overhead, because all that's going to do is translate to the customer with a more expensive product.
Without a doubt. You don't want to monopolize. You want to bring in the unity, which is
that's it, man.
For the greater good of the brotherhood.
I want everybody to have these things. I mean, and the only reason that we can't do dealers is because, you know, dealers buy arrows at 40% off. Well, if I had to sell these things to dealers at 40 off, for me to be able to make any money at this at all, I mean, these things have to be $250 a dozen. So I don't have the luxury of doing that. I've got to do it all right direct. But at the end of the day, I'd rather do it that way because, man, hell, I want to talk to everybody that wants to get set up. I want to talk to them personally, and I want to know when they're successful. I mean, I want them to call me when they're standing over an animal and go, man, thank you. This deal just happened, and it's, you know, it's exactly what I needed. I appreciate all the help. That's what I like to hear. I mean, if I have dealers, I'm never going to hear any of that.
Right. They're going to glorify the dealer, and lo and behold, it's the men in the trenches.
That's it, man. I mean, I just want to be engaged with my customers, and because then it just becomes a really cool group of hunting buddies, basically, you know?
If that doesn't bleed red, white, and blue, I don't know what does.
all I picture is Brian at the local bodega, you know, slinging his arrows and flipping them down in the hood.
I hear you. We don't have bodegas down here, man. We got city markets.
Yeah. Oh, man. So that's crazy. You made it to the next segment, Brian.
Okay.
Brian Broderick from Day 6 Gear. What rattles your antlers, man?
About what?
Anything in the industry. The hunting industry.
Oh, in the hunting industry?
Yeah, anything outdoors. What really gets on your skin? What bothers you the most?
I would say the hunting industry as a whole. My short tenure in the industry has been it has been eye-opening, number one, but extremely disappointing with regards to a lot of the people in it and how they conduct themselves. It's not a industry of, well, let me rephrase that. It is an industry that is not top heavy with professional, hardworking people. It's top heavy with a lot of guys that just want to hunt and do their business second. And it's very frustrating when you're trying to run a business in that kind of environment. So, you know, most people's phones are for their convenience only. You know, it's not for you to access them. It's for them to access you when they need something. And that's bullshit. So before I go to bed every night, I make sure that every phone call has been answered, every email or text has been answered, and I'm not carrying anything over to the next day. And I have not seen that in the hunting industry, and it's extremely frustrating.
That's
How
really
about
awesome,
that for a
man.
rant?
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. This way you start fresh every morning.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, but I mean, you know, I've got people that I work directly with. They'll answer me 2 and 3 days after I've texted them. I mean, these are people I work closely with. They'll take multiple days to answer a text and think nothing of it. I had somebody answer an email yesterday from June 20th.
Oh my God.
I'm like, dude, did you forget what month it is?
How do you even
may not
remember?
be smart, but certainly you can read a calendar.
Yeah.
How do you even remember to text that person back or write back an email?
Right, a
like
month
I would
later.
totally forget. I'd be like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
You have to be right on top of it.
Why do you think they responded? Because they need something.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yep.
So that's
because they
the
did
gist.
forget, and then they saw it, and they're like, "Oh, well, now I have to respond."
Well, not even just that.
Yeah.
They probably needed something from Brian and was
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Let me go back and answer this first before asking him.
Oh, shit, I forgot all about that.
That's right.
That's crazy.
Insane, man. Insane.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is there anything that you really want to like put out on the table? Is there anything actually that you've never said on a podcast amongst all the other things you kind of disclose, like any special talents, hidden talents, or anything you're really good at that no one really knows about?
No, I don't think so. I've not been very good at much, man, except for hunting. So, I mean, you've extracted really the only talent I have.
You know what? How about your intro song, believe it or not, I think it's one of my favorites so far because it really the lyrics really touched home to what we're about, and it's nice because it's a nice way of disclosing your age without saying your age. You know what I mean? So it just leaves it to mystery, and everyone listening right now should definitely take what you say to heart because it's definitely good intel, and you don't get that every day from the horse's mouth. You know.
Well, it's from a lifetime of screwing up, guys. I mean, I have done so much the wrong way, made so many bad decisions, and you know, eventually you stomp your toe enough, you know, you start figuring out you better start doing something different, or it's, you know, not going to work. So, you know, I like having these conversations because I'm sitting there, you know, hoping that, man, if somebody hears this and they make a change, whether it's their hunting or whatever it is, or their arrow set up, and they don't have to go through the BS learning curve that I had to go through, and it can accelerate their path to success, man, it's worth it. You know, it's worth all the screw ups to save that for somebody else. You know,
that's really righteous of you, man. And I mean, what better way to segue to Round of Positivity? So, Trev, what do you got? Round of Positivity.
So I get to start off first. I'm excited. Nobody can steal it. So
damn you, Trev.
Yeah. So my round of positivity, honestly, is just, you know, sitting back, kicking, drinking some beer, and just listening to somebody who's been through the curvature of the bow hunting industry. And I really took a lot away from this episode, and just a humble guy and somebody who bleeds red, white, and blue and just is out for the industry and everybody who follows behind him. And it's just amazing what he's doing, and it's just really positive, honestly.
Cool.
I know it's kind of like weird.
No,
that
was good one. I mean, damn, guys, I got to be going second, third, fourth, whatever. It sucks because everything always comes about. But I mean,
well, what you got?
I mean, this was just such a surreal episode. I mean, Brian is just the real deal. He's just an honest blue collar guy. He's a trustworthy guy. He sticks to his word. You know, just ending your day every day, making sure everything is taken care of for that day. You start a new slate every single day. It's just so positive, and you keep that mentality going every single day. That's what we strive for: positivity, unity, and that's just what we go for. And that's what this whole podcast was about. So we thank you so much for being on here and just enlightening all of us, all of our listeners, everyone here in this room. And it was just an excellent episode.
And what I bring to the table that's positive is you, Brian. You're a busy fella, and as you're slaving away and burning the midnight oil, so to speak, you're blessing us with your presence on getting your voice heard out here in the East Coast, and just really shedding some light on stuff that maybe someone, like you said so yourself, maybe they didn't know about, or they can gain a different perspective to attack their hunting scenario a little bit better and their setup. This way, it's okay to screw up, and you saved them a bunch of screw ups until then. So, Brian Broderick from Day 6 Gear, what do you got round of positivity to bring to the table?
Well, first off, it is definitely true that once you drink enough beer, everybody loves everybody. Because that was heartfelt, and I'm a little foggy and misty at this point. So, round of positivity, that's a simple one for me. When you get to the point in your life when you can be truly happy in the success of others, life becomes real damn easy. And that is, man, it's a hard thing to get to. I mean, when you can be truly happy for a guy's success, whether it's him killing the buck you wanted to kill, whether it's his success financially, whatever it is, if you can find a way to get yourself to that point where you can revel in the success and happiness of others, it's a cakewalk, boys, I'm telling you. But if you begrudge everybody else's success and think that should have been you, it ain't never going to happen. It's never going to be you.
And on that note, stay stepping
and stay slaying.
Fat freezer runs low, I gotta stock it. These scrub bugs got no mass, darn sure no drop times. But this chili has deer burger in it tonight.
Where did this podcast go? Straight to hell. Yeah, speaking of hell, check out East Coast Bowhunting Podcast.
We keep it real on the East Coast. First of all, I'm addicted to the show.
I like that. That's cool. Cold or hot, you live it, you breathe it.
It's a whole different world.
Just East Coast has a little bit more of an edge and a grind. It's a fantastic thing.
You guys are fucking awesome.
Well, number one is you guys like beer. I want to feel like I'm hanging with the boys.
You're the guys that showed up.
But I actually saw Jesus.
The point where it is now where it's insane.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
I just want to get the realest people possible in the industry. And you just got to piss people off. You're not doing it right.
Nothing forced. All fucking natural.